Hey guys, and welcome to Womble and Ho the Man review Sleep No More from Series 9 of Doctor Who. This will contain spoilers, you have been warned.
Yes.
So, um, you know what? I'm gonna go full swing in here, and it's great to see a Mark Gatiss episode again. I really like his style of writing, and I really enjoyed this story, and I know you didn't, Kev, so...
Mm, the, the I, not the idea was just really kind of classic. And I hate because you're the one who brings up classic Who all the time, and it's good because you know so much more about classic Doctor Who than I do. It's fine, but the enemies felt like a classic Who enemy. Like final strip going, oh, what does we need an enemy? Oh, Jesus, what could it be? Oh, I'm really tired. Sandman. You know, we'll do something with sand. You know, it'd be easy to make a suit out of sand, right? Yeah. Yeah, let's do something with sand. It seemed
But
like a classic Who storyline.
yeah, but they weren't really Sandmen. They're not actually made out of sand. They're made out of your dust from your eyes, which is
But
creepy and weird.
but that's what they called it. They called it, well, Clara
Yeah,
calls.
well, that was the point, and the Doctor even said, "Oh, it's like the Silurians all over again." When really the Silurians weren't from the Silurian period; they're from like another not a Jurassic period, from another dinosaur era. So so actually, they are wrongly named Silurian, so that's why they wrongly named the Sandman the Sandman. It was more of a sort of a look at us, we're idiots sort of thing, which is kind of cool. I like that. But no, the reason why I liked this, and you said it was like classic Who, but I don't think it was. I think it's something we've never seen before, and I think the best way to explain it is like through bless you.
Thanks.
The best way to explain it is through the camera work. I mean, I was a bit nervous when I saw the trailer because it looked like it was all in found footage from like GoPro cams and things like that, and that can be very, very...
Sorry.
Jesus Christ! Go and blow your nose.
I'm fine.
Fan footage, like, it can be a risk with like horror and things like that because it's very cliche. A lot of people do it. I think the one thing I sort of like is when J.J. Abrams did Cloverfield.
I
but
like Cloverfield. I thought that was the best way of doing it.
even then, I was a bit about it. I didn't think it was a great movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just, but I actually think that this dealt with it quite well and quite cleverly. But certain aspects of how they used it was a bit obvious and a little bit difficult. So there are a few problems with like this from a camera technical point of view. There are a few problems when like Clara, it was from Clara's point of view, she was above someone, and then when it was from their point of view, they were above Clara, and it, for me, that didn't look right, and Clara always seemed to be level with the Doctor, and she's a lot smaller than the Doctor, so it should have really been looking up.
Yeah,
But
that was very noticeable when he said something about I sleep, even I sleep, and she goes, when you're not looking, and he looks at her,
yeah,
and it's like
yeah,
he's level. It does.
yeah, it didn't quite work. And then there was also the bit with I think when they were in the cold room, when it was three of them, and it was sort of going back and forth, and it didn't quite work then. But as a whole, I think actually the cinematography really did hold up, and it's probably it made the suspense work. They didn't overuse shaky cam. They had it in like one scene,
And I,
which is great because I hate shaky cam. You can never tell what's going on.
it's more realistic though if it's a found footage shaky cam.
Yeah, but they had it only in one scene, and the rest were slow moving camera movements when they're walking, but it doesn't count as shaky cam. That's it was probably done. I imagine it was probably done with a unit that you can get, so the camera is set up on the person's body. Which is probably why they didn't get the heights right, because obviously the camera's in front of the cameraman's eye, and then the cameraman, who's probably taller or smaller than Clara, has to be looking through the screen of the camera, so then he knows what to shoot. So that was one thing anyway. But I thought it did actually work, and I felt the suspense all the way through it. I was on the edge of my sort of seat, and it was very nice to see a different take on Doctor Who, because I don't know if you noticed, there was something that was missing at the beginning.
The TARDIS.
There was there was no title sequence. Absolutely no title sequence.
Wow, I watched it twice and I didn't even notice.
Yeah, there was layers of code and it said Doctor Who, but there was no title sequence. And I think that might actually be the first time they've done that, which I thought was really interesting and really nice to look at.
Shows only usually do that if the show's running too long. Because I know with especially with cartoons, The Simpsons, the whole opening credits of The Simpsons, if they have a long couch scene, it's because the show was short, and if they have a quick one, it's because the show ran too long. Family Guy does it a lot, where they just show Family Guy, and if you get the DVDs and commentary, Seth MacFarlane hates it. He always goes, "It's just because the show ran too long."
Well,
but I don't know for anime. I don't know. That's for
no. I think you are right. I think that it was running over this episode. It's slightly longer than other episodes, and they didn't have end credits, and they didn't have the title sequence, which probably lasts like a minute or something, which is really nothing if you put it into scheduling. I mean, a minute here it's very easy to shave off a minute from.
And it's BBC. It's not like they have a ton of ads to cover.
No, but I think the main reason why they did that was to because obviously the reveal at the end, and of course here comes the spoilers. The reveal at the end is that it's the videotape that transmits these signals to turn you into the Sandman. So really, everyone who watched that episode of Doctor Who now has this thing living inside them, which is it's really cool. And they did that with the angels suspending, like bringing the audience into it a bit more.
If you look in the eyes of a weeping angel, you will become a weeping angel.
No, not that bit. I meant the first Angels episode. They did it in the first Angels episode where you never saw the angels move. So that's making the audience believe that these are real creatures and this could actually happen. So yeah. Anyway, that's literally like some of the reasons why I really like this episode.
Is that the final character from? Because the writer of it used to do a show with the doctor, not the doctor, the professor or the scientist. I cannot think of that show. It was a really creepy show. Like, she's my wife now.
No idea what.
A very British odd comedy. Is it League Extraordinary?
What are we talking about? Are we talking about this episode of Doctor Who, or are we talking about a different episode?
No, we're talking about this Doctor Who episode because
okay,
the guy in it used to be in a show with the writer of this episode.
Oh, you mean Reece Shearsmith, I think.
What was the name of that show they used to be in? Because I think
I have no idea.
I think at this point they've all been in Doctor Who, all the actors from that show. And
probably. I mean, there's a lot of different actors that have been in Doctor Who,
but like he wrote the episode and his friends in the episode.
Oh right. But I don't know. I don't know what Reece Shearsmith's been in before, but I think it was blatantly obvious right from the. Now I'm going to start nitpicking at the story here because yes, I did enjoy it, but I don't think it is as good as
The League of Gentlemen, the League of.
Oh yes, yeah. I know. The League of Gentlemen. That's I never watched that, but I know of it.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? The black comedy. Yeah. He was in it. I think nearly everyone has been in Doctor Who. Like,
Gentlemen, yeah.
Yeah, because I like that because it's like a friend thing. Yeah, yes, because the other guy was in the Silence of the Library episodes.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean okay, yeah. Well. Anyway, that I don't think that really matters, but the.
I know, but it's just I like the idea that he gets his friends to do some of his episodes.
Oh yeah, well, I think now because Doctor Who's such a big thing,
all comedians.
The writers of Doctor Who are starting to write episodes just for an actor to make a cameo, and they will make the cameo. And I think that, and I sort of have the feeling that this episode was sort of wrote in mind, or the villain was wrote in mind of for Reese. I think his name's Sheer. I looked it up before we started recording. I don't have it wrote down. Reese Shearsmith, I think. But yeah, so that's what Doctor Who's sort of doing now. They're branching out and making writers write for people instead of writing villains and then casting it. Which actually you probably should be doing it. Like anyway, like you should be looking at other actors and seeing, oh yeah, that they're good for this role. Let's
I always thought Bill Bailey's he should have had a bigger part in Doctor Who, because he just seems like he'd be perfect as a weird enemy of the Doctor.
Well, the problem with Bill Bailey, he's not an actor, and he has openly said that. Like he had a small comedy cameo, and he's more of a stand-up comedian than anything, and that's probably what he is known for. I can't think of anything apart from Black Books.
He did.
Where he essentially plays himself.
Yeah, but he has done shows.
Yeah, he was also in Skins as well.
Was he?
Yeah, he was in the first series of Skins. He played someone's dad, and I can't remember who it was, but he was definitely in Skins. But yeah, again, that was only a cameo role, and it was very small, and he didn't, you know. For me, Bill Bailey, like the only thing he's done is Black Books, so they're not going to cast him as like a big title role. That would be a bit ridiculous. Anyway, back to this. I'm going to start nitpicking at the story a bit and some of the bits like.
Oh, did you think the creatures, the Sandmen, if we just want to call them the Sandmen and Bed and the Dream Men, looked like the creatures from oh my god, what's the name of that game? A Machine of for Pigs, the first one.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh my god, I can't think of the name. Asylum.
You really need to start making notes before you start talking.
Oh, I thought I'd be able to actually say the name. I can't. I'm seeing it and I can't even say the name. Insomnia.
Insomnia.
No, not. Oh my god, Kev, come on, get it together. Don't worry, this bit will actually.
You're making sounds and I have no idea what they are.
This bit will.
Insomnia.
See, what's gonna happen is, I'm gonna have this cut bit out to make it look like, I knew what the fuck I was talking about.
Yeah, and then you'll make a hash cut of it.
I will make. Oh yeah, okay, yes. Some of your cuts. This is why I don't like cutting this stuff, because.
Well, you need to listen to
that
it.
game. My God, I can't say the fucking word.
Oh right, it was you that messaged me. I was like, oh, I've got a message. Amnesia.
Oh my god, Amnesia.
Amnesia: The Darkest Descent. No, I haven't played that yet. I've got it, but I'm.
There's an enemy in it, and he looks like a bag, but his face opens. He kind of looks like this. There'll be an image on the screen right now, or for the last few seconds, if Fallout hasn't taken over.
Well,
right.
Anyway, no, I've not watched. I've not played Amnesia, The Darkest Descent, or any of those any of those games at all. So you've sent me another link. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the second image down.
Redirect notices pages. What? Is this relevant to Doctor Who?
I'm just saying it looks like a character from a horror game.
Yeah.
The melt bit. I forgot.
Sort of. I guess I sort of see where you're coming from, but yeah. I think the actual monsters themselves, they're a bit underpowered. Like, they couldn't see.
They were like more henchmen.
Yeah, they were more henchmen. And I think the idea of those monsters is the fact, and I don't know if you noticed this, but when the scientists said the crew, they're all dead, they're not dead, they're the monsters.
Yeah, I was guessing that.
Yeah, which is, you know, so they are the henchmen. There's like, I think there's a greater mind behind these Sandmen, or like a hive mind, I imagine, and they,
And again, another they didn't really mention it, and I know it's just a one-off, but hybrid kind of because Sandman took over, or the pollen or whatever you want to call it took
yes.
over.
Well, yeah, yeah, and you find out in the end that it isn't actually the pollen; it's the magnetic waves in the video that transfer the sand to people.
But with that now in Clara's eye, what's going to happen to Clara? Are they ever going to bring?
Oh no, these monsters. I think this monster has been set up to come back at least once. Right. Okay. Well, I can go through that in a minute, but
Bro, I already
I
know.
sort of want to hit back to what points in the story that didn't work for me. Um, I think it felt a little bit rushed in places, so you didn't feel for some of the characters. Now, what Doctor Who's been doing really well recently is making you feel for the smaller characters and then killing them off, and then there's a bigger impact when they die. So, which was the episode where they had to go back in time to the 80s, and I can't remember the freaking episodes now. There was a serial anyway, and you really feel for like a relationship that is, and it's growing throughout this two serials, and then one of those characters dies, and it's kind of like a, oh wow, I wasn't actually expecting that sort of
Is
moment.
this episode from the 80s or is it
No,
from?
no, this is from this series. And it was when like there was a list of names read out from the Doctor, by the Doctor, to the Doctor, and he then like added Clara's name, and it was the person before Clara who died.
Oh, it was the water episode with the
Yeah, yeah,
Brit,
and they go back to the 80s. Yeah,
under
that's what
the
the
lake
80s.
underwater,
Yeah,
through above the
yeah, but
floods.
anyway, they'd built up these characters, and you felt an arc growing, and then they die, and it's like, oh wait, the Doctor hasn't actually saved her, and it's like, oh, and I, that is something that I really like about what is happening with Doctor Who now. They're developing these characters, but for me, like the first death, he got separated really quick from the group. It was like that was like the first thing that happened. He got separated,
Very
and it was
very horror based kind of thing. That's a very trope
yeah.
horror
Oh
movies.
yeah, no. As soon as anyone gets separated from the main characters, they're dead. That is kind of obvious. That's what happens. But you never felt his character. I didn't know anything about that character. He was just a guy that died. And I think, for me, the script. I think this script was originally intended to be a two-parter. So then the first half is them walking around this base and finding these different things, and you get the first death in the final part of the first episode, and then you get the death of the the scientist right at the end, and then there can be like the second act actually figuring out that the scientist is the bad guy, and I feel that it didn't quite move as smoothly. Now, I'm not sure whether it's because either Moffat's came in and said, actually, yeah, no, this isn't working as a two-parter, it's too long, or
It's
it's
too
too
short. Could have
You know,
been too short.
no, because I think there's a lot of backstory that they've sort of ironed over, because there was there was a mention of the big catastrophe, and Clara was like, wait, what? A catastrophe? And they've ironed over that, and then they iron over a lot of the backstory of the Grunt, like who was he? How did he sort of? And they sort of just iron over these little things, and I think they could have explored that more, and that would have filled out the two episodes. But I think either Moffat's came in and said, no, this works better as a single episode, or Gatiss has said, actually, I don't think I can stretch this out as long, or
Or
not confident with
he
the
might
end.
have just wanted to keep it a little bit, because it's a trope for any kind of fantasy book or anything. A lot of spoon feeding, as you brought up earlier on. They might have just wanted to and it's a quick way. It's a good way of doing it as well. Going, oh, you can tell by his face he's what was
Oh,
he?
oh no! From the first second, like it wasn't like his face; it was the way that he was talking to the camera. It's like, don't get attached to them. He's obviously the bad guy. He's the scientist. He's the
No,
only.
not the sign. What? No, the actual
Oh right,
the trope, whatever the fuck he is,
yeah.
3-4, whatever his name was. Of just saying, you can tell by his markings what he is. It's a good way of cutting a lot of
Yes.
unnecessary details where
Yeah,
that
but,
character or that
I still-
idea of a character can come back in
My
later
point
on.
is that I would have liked more from that specific character because
474. Jesus, that was his name.
I can't remember any of
No,
them.
no, that was it. I'm on Wikipedia.
Oh right.
474.
Obviously, yeah, because you're a cheat. You don't know it all off the top of your head like I do.
You take notes.
No, with his character, it would be like I wanted to see because he did like a change at one point where he shoved and then they were like he's bred for war and this and then he tries to fight his friend and then he's like I'm sorry I didn't mean to do that, it was all instinct. And I wanted to see more of that develop before he gets killed off, and I wanted to see him develop as a character. So I don't mean you need to spoon feed us about how he was created and all that stuff. You don't need that. That's kind of fairly obvious that he's bred just for war. But I do honestly think that character, there's so much potential for that, because essentially you've started off with a slab. You can grow anything from that character. He's like an ood. Like I always felt
of the Ood there. I was actually thinking of the Ood that they didn't really, because I can't remember if the Ood. Yeah, the Ood were in first with David Tennant.
Yeah,
and
they were just essentially just a slave. They were just there to be killed off.
And it was the second time you were introduced, you realise they are just bred for this. They are
exactly, yeah.
So they could be doing that in the next series. They could go back and show what these are. Or
maybe,
just have more of these later on in the series when
well,
they go to
I don't actually think that these will actually come back because they are like you said, they're too close to the Ood and they've already done that. So I don't think they'll actually come back to this, which sort of gave the opportunity for them to give more from this one character because they're not going to come back to this. I don't think anyway. They might do, but I think because they're too close to the Ood and it's too soon for the Ood, and really if they wanted to bring a slave race they could just bring the Ood back like before David Tennant liberated them.
I was rewatching Matt Smith's and he had an episode with Uncle and the doctor's wife. That's the name of the doctor's wife.
Oh, that was a brilliant episode. Let's not get too convoluted.
But
hours about this.
That was a fucking fantastic episode. But when the Ood dies, Matt Smith says, in it kind of not like declaring it, he just kind of says it to himself, another Ood I couldn't save.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that little throwback to what has come before.
Yeah.
And I'd love the Ood came back because I think that's a great character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it is a great character. And I sort of think that the Ood might be coming back at some point. That feels like a reoccurring race that might come back in a few series, maybe with Capaldi, maybe after Capaldi. I'm not sure.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, and because we're going to jump to our final thoughts in the episode and briefly mention the fear of the Raven, and it has a sentence: "Return of the Ood and the Cybermen."
What? What is that? The episodes to come.
It might be in that episode. The episode also seen the return of the Oods and the Cybermen, so they might be in the next episodes.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really looked too much about future episodes. I try not to spoil myself. But about this episode, so you, the thing that I really liked about the Sandmen, it was the fact that they ended it. I'm getting a lot of feedback from you.
Yeah, I know. I can't do anything about it.
Okay.
I know what it is, and it drives the fuck out of me when I record.
Okay.
it's the tank of water above my room, refilling.
Oh, right. Okay.
And if you pay
Maybe get
attention to
some
some
sound
episodes,
absorbing stuff to get some foam and put it on your ceiling.
I should. And those whoever lived here last put a hole in the roof on one side, so you hear even more. There's a small hole covered by a Irish flag, and
Oh.
it's a. I don't even know how that happened, but yeah, I should really get foam for the roof.
Yeah. So anyway, the big sort of reveal to the end is that the cameras are the particles and the dust.
Yeah, oh yeah, that what I wanted to mention. At the beginning of it, he never says personal cameras. He says personal view.
Yes.
And I love it because the first time I watched it, when he said we don't have cameras, I was like, oh, that's really nice because at the beginning he says this, and then as I rewatched it to do this, he kind of he doesn't really hold on the word. He just says and then says the rest of the sentence, and I'm like, when he reveals it, and the doctor's like, what did you say 3.30 seconds ago? We don't have head cams. And yes, I love the idea that the cameras are dust and people's point of views and shit like that.
I mean,
and Clara, and if you pay attention, because Clara doesn't have it till she gets in the
Yes.
pod, then second watch. It's better on the second watch because you know what's coming on. And
to
pay
be
more
honest,
attention.
I'm not stupid. It's kind of obvious right from the beginning. Well, no, what actually gave it away was the minute you saw Clara got out the pod, and then it was from her point of view. It's like, hang on a minute. And the fact that they're all looking at each other instead of looking slightly below the camera, it for me that was like either it's really bad filmmaking or it's actually their eyes something's in their eyes. And then when he said like the sleep dust, it really early on I figured all of that out. That was so for me the big reveal was kind of like a yeah.
I was kind of hoping when he was going to reveal Patient Zero, that Patient Zero was going to be his son or wife or something like that to make me feel about the character. No, it was just a sand person. I thought it was like gonna look different. He looked like every other
of
sand
course,
person.
because
I
Patient
wanted
Zero
him.
was a normal person. That reveal was that the sand people are the real people. So Patient Zero had turned into this sand person. So it could have been like his wife or something like that. But it
I
turned
wanted that sand person to look completely different to the other ones, like just bigger or something like that. They
again,
just
they're not
looked
the main
like
villain,
normal
and you
ones.
don't realize this until right at the end. The main villain is the hive mind. They can only somehow they were able to make the scientists into human form, but really they can only be these sand creatures that can't see. It's the hive mind that has this ulterior motive. So that big reveal with his number one patient, actually it wasn't his number one patient. That was probably just some guy who had just turned into a sand creature as well. It doesn't really matter. That whole plan, that was all a lie to trick the doctor into running away just so he could broadcast this video, which is the episode we watched. Which was that was a nice little twist. I liked that. But the big reveal of the sand is cameras and the dust and things, I sort of already figured that out. That for me that was kind of obvious, and it brought Clara and I can't remember the commander's name, but it brought Clara and the commander's stupidity level quite high because the doctor had to really slowly explain this, and there was this sort of spoon feeding the audience the answer. And again, I have to say it is a children's show, so children and Kev don't understand it because they're idiots, basically. But it was obvious.
We're gonna end it just final thoughts. My thing, and I thought was the favorite thing I liked of the whole episode is when the first person who runs away trying to get into the room because the sand people are coming, and she's like, you had to sing this song, and it's a horror, it's a thrill, trying to scare people, and then like, you had to sing the song. But you just said my name. You had to sing the song. What song?
Yeah.
And
Actually, I've always had this really great idea to have classic songs like that and put them in scary films, and actually you can make something really sinister and scary about just a simple happy song. My final thing is actually, if you think about it, the Doctor gets away, um, and everything like that. He flies away in the TARDIS, but really, the Sandmen win because they transmit the videotape, right? So that means everyone watching, that includes everyone in the audience and everyone in the 39th century, I think it was. Sorry,
Eight.
38th century.
38.
Um, everyone there who gets this video, they now have dust in their eyes, and they're gonna pass it on. And that,
See, that's what the second episode could
well,
have been. The Doctor's
well,
fixing
no,
all
I
this.
don't, I don't think he's ever gonna fix this because he won't realize it, or he might fix it next season or whatever. But
Oh, it's gonna be a big fish.
maybe.
Big
But
finish.
obviously, in the end, we know that the humans will win. Okay, because humanity goes on to the end of the Earth. Sorry, to the end of the universe. But it's really set up, I think, a very clever villain. Now, what I like to think is going to happen next, and this is just all theory, the government will understand what's happening to these Sandmen. Maybe a scientist will figure it out. He will send another video out to someone else who hasn't watched these videos, someone far away from the Earth system, and they will come up with some technology to sort of defend themselves against the Sandmen, retake... I just dropped a screwdriver for some random reason. I'm holding a screwdriver. They transmit something, this signal that counteracts the electoral impulse in that video and destroys the Sandmen on Earth. Somehow they escape, and then the humans have Earth and the Sol system back, because obviously this was all being taken part. I think it was Neptune. Was it Neptune? I think it was taken part. So really, all of Sol has fallen. So it leaves it back to the Earth outposts right on the edges of space.
Triton or something like that. So
Yeah,
Neptune.
Neptune. Yeah, it's one of the
Neptune.
moons around Neptune.
Satellites. You can't really call them moons.
Fine, satellites. Uh, it's the same thing. It means exactly the same thing. A moon is It means a moon is a satellite. That's literally the. I mean, our moon has a name. It's called Luna. There you go. Moon means satellite. I think it was Roman. But anyway, that doesn't matter. That's, nonsense. But anyway, at the end, this is the thing I liked. The monsters win, but the Doctor doesn't realise. And, that leads into this Sandman to be maybe a greater threat. Because you can't really fight an electoral impulse unless until you. Well, it's a suicide discovery because you get this sand. Clara already has the sand in her eyes. So what's going to happen to Clara? And you have already said that, but yeah,
I've always wondered, does the Doctor sleep?
Oh yeah,
that's the only thing that I got out of this episode. You still sleep?
I think there has been an episode where the Doctor he said at some point, I'm sure, I might be making this up, but he said at some point, yeah, I sleep, and it's usually when you're talking. And I think that was Capaldi that said that, so I think that was last season.
Could be.
So, yeah. I think that brings us to the end.
It certainly does. And next week's episode is Fear the Raven, or Fear of the Raven.
Yeah, and it's bringing back Maisie, what's her name? Can't remember the actress's name. But it's bringing her back into it. It's also bringing...
oh, Jesus. Didn't actually know that.
Well, I only know that from the trailer because it was her voice going over the top. So I imagine she's going to be back in that episode.
Yeah, it actually says it here, Maisie.
That's it, yeah. And it's also bringing back, I can't remember his name, but he was in Series 8, and I thought he was a really great character, and I'm glad they're bringing him back. And he's going to get to go on the TARDIS, and it was when the TARDIS got shrunk down, and
Yeah, that was
That was I really enjoyed that when Clara got to be the Doctor. But yeah, no, I like his character. I think a lot of people, a lot of the audience of Doctor Who are going to be able to relate easy to him because he's like a teenager. It's got a bit of an ethnicity in it, and it's genuine. It actually feels like someone from England. Uh, so yeah, and I generally I'm looking forward to that episode. And there's things that I can talk about that trailer that I'll tell you off camera, I think, or off recording.
Okay. Well, I have been Hard Man as Show, the
And
man.
I've been the guy without the corny outro.
Till next week. Fuck you! You ruined it. You ruined it. You ruined it.
See ya.
Till next time. Take care. Goodbye. See ya. 25 minutes.